Welcome to the Fate of Ukraine channel. The world's largest tank fleet has come to an end. Since the beginning of the Ukraine-Russian war, visual evidence of losses of military equipment in Ukraine continues to accumulate. According to the information obtained, the damage has been quite large since Russia started the war. More than half of the tank fleet currently owned by the Russian army is unusable. Local sources have now confirmed that 1,000 Russian tanks in the war zone have been destroyed. According to unavailable information, the Ukrainian army destroyed another 2,000 Russian tanks. However, this number cannot be confirmed with certainty. 544 Russian tanks passed under the control of the Ukrainian army. Ukrainian soldiers successfully captured as many tanks from the Russians as the number of tanks used by 100 brigades. Military analysts state that the world's largest tank fleet was destroyed in just a year. At the moment, it is said that 3,000 tanks of Russia have been destroyed according to the allegations. However, at the beginning of the war, Russia had a total of 3,000 working tanks. Thus, it is known that the Russian army currently has very few working tanks. Military experts also state that the Russians are running the tanks from the former Soviet era with a short maintenance. The Kremlin is working hard not to show that it has no tanks left. However, at the moment, we can say that the world's largest tank fleet has officially disappeared. According to the report of the Ukrainian General Staff, Russia has lost 3,255 tanks since the beginning of the war. The British side warned Kiev that the Kremlin could launch a major offensive within 10 days. The Putin administration has removed all the weapons from the warehouse for a new wave of attacks. The Russian army distributes all the equipment to the army, whether you notice old or new equipment. Ukrainian intelligence services officially stated that Russian troops will launch a new offensive. Ukrainian officials state that there are large intelligence reports that new Russian attacks will start from Donetsk, Luhansk, and Zaporizhia regions. According to the Bloomberg news agency, Putin is determined to continue the all-out war against Ukraine for years. The U.S. magazine Foreign Policy reported that Russia is preparing a new large-scale attack against Ukraine by gathering hundreds of thousands of troops in eastern Ukraine. In preparation for a new offensive, Russia began arming itself, and it turned out that it already has about 1,800 tanks, about 4,000 armored vehicles and 2,700 artillery systems. It is also stated that 1,800 tanks are from the former Soviet era. However, military experts state that some tanks are the best tanks of the new generation Russia. Currently, Russia has gathered 500,000 soldiers and 1,800 tanks to launch the offensive within 10 days. According to Kiev military officials, Russia could set out at any time as many as 500,000 soldiers and thousands of military equipment to attack the entire Donbas region in eastern Ukraine. Russia's huge assault brigade is also expected to arrive in the front area within 10 days. Ukrainian officials and foreign analysts have been stating for weeks that the Kremlin will launch a major offensive on the anniversary of the war. "We expect a new, major attack in the next 10 days," said a Ukrainian military official. Some experts state that Russia could launch a new attack on Ukraine with 400 attack aircraft at the same time. On the Ukrainian side, secret preparations continue. The Kremlin side is outnumbered, although Ukrainian officials say the Russian side's recruits are poorly trained and equipped. According to Kiev military officials, Russia could set out at any time as many as 500,000 soldiers and thousands of military equipment to attack the entire Donbas region in eastern Ukraine. Russia's huge assault brigade is also expected to arrive in the front area within 10 days. Ukrainian officials and foreign analysts have been stating for weeks that the Kremlin will launch a major offensive on the anniversary of the war. "We expect a new, major attack in the next 10 days," said a Ukrainian military official. Some experts state that Russia could launch a new attack on Ukraine with 400 attack aircraft at the same time. On the Ukrainian side, secret preparations continue. The Kremlin side is outnumbered, although Ukrainian officials say the Russian side's new recruits are poorly trained and equipped. The Kremlin is racing against time to turn the tide of war in its favor, before the first battle tanks and long-range missiles committed to Kiev by the US and European countries begin arriving in Ukraine in early March. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has redoubled efforts in recent weeks to persuade his allies to supply fighter jets to Kiev. During a surprise European tour on Wednesday, Zelensky made speeches to provide fighter jets to British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Later on, leader Zelensky met in Paris with Emmanuel Macron from France and Olaf Scholz from Germany to discuss the urgent military needs of Ukraine. Ukrainian defenders continue to stop the Russian reconnaissance troops. Ukrainian soldiers shot down 2 Orlan 10 UAVs and an Orion UAV near the Ukrainian positions. Ukraine successfully destroyed 2 Russian command centers on the front, 2 military personnel assembly areas, an ammunition depot and a Russian air defense post. The Ukrainian General Staff announced that the Ukrainian Air Force carried out 13 attacks on Russian military equipment depots and 2 attacks on the positions of anti-aircraft missile systems during the day. According to the Ukrainian General Staff, the Russians carried out 41 air and 3 missile strikes in the past day, 2 of which targeted infrastructures in Kramatorsk, Donetsk Oblast. They also carried out 32 attacks using multiple launch rocket systems, including at areas for infrastructures in the Donetsk and Kherson regions. The United States and France military units affiliated with NATO's combat group in Romania began to organize exercises to test the organization's Eastern Bloc defense power. Around 350 multinational soldiers are participating in the exercise, called Rock Eagle 23, held in the Black Sea military training zone of Kapumidea. Announcing that real ammunition was used in the exercise held on February 2 to 10, the Romanian Ministry of Defense stated that the exercises were conducted to test the compatibility of soldiers and weapon systems. It was noteworthy that the HIMARS missile system, which was used by Ukraine against Russia and played an important role in its success, was also used in the exercise. The ministry also stated that the purpose of the exercise is to test an imaginary Article 5 collective defense scenario in NATO's southeastern territory. As we approach the first year of the Ukraine-Russia war, NATO continues to increase its presence and mobility on Europe's eastern border. Continuing its military build-up to NATO member countries in the region such as Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria and Slovakia in the last year, the alliance also held an exercise in January. It is reported that the Ukrainian state defense company Ukroboronprom has started the production of 120mm caliber mines in partnership with a NATO member country. In a written statement from Ukroboronprom, information was given about the first product of the company's cooperation with a NATO member country. In the statement, it was stated that Ukroboronprom and a NATO member country jointly started the production of 120mm caliber mines, and said, the procurement agreement of these mines was signed with the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine recently and the Ukrainian army will receive the mines soon. Pointing out that these mines were produced using modern technologies, it was noted that the production facilities were scattered and some of them were located in 1 European countries. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky signed the London Declaration, which aims to strengthen the cooperation between the 2 countries, with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, as part of his surprise visit to London. In the declaration emphasizing that Britain and Ukraine stand in solidarity with Russia, it was stated that the UK will continue to unwaveringly support Ukraine's independence, territorial integrity and borders. In the declaration, it was underlined that Ukraine's pursuit of its security, including NATO membership, would be supported. In the declaration, which stated that the military and economic support sent by the UK to Ukraine since the beginning of the war has reached £4 billion, it was reminded that the Ukrainian armed forces personnel have been trained in the UK since 2015. In the declaration, it was stated that military support to Ukraine will continue. Britain has imposed sanctions on 1,200 Russians and 120 organizations and added, we will impose new sanctions against key sectors of the Russian economy, those who support the war or profit from the war in Russia or outside Russia. The declaration also referred to the Istanbul Grain Agreement and said, we will continue to work together to ensure that Ukrainian grain reaches world markets. This includes ensuring the continuity of the Black Sea Grain Agreement and the Ukrainian grain program that will ensure food security for the most vulnerable groups. We'll see what happens in the coming days. We have come to the end of another video. You can like the video to support us. By subscribing, you can easily follow new videos. See you.